because the airing of This Old House, which became Ask This Old House, the call Tom Silva has turned out to be iconic amongst owners and DIYers. From home preservation to construction, Tommy has a solution, and it is indeed pleasing to watch him make, transforming renovations and turn the desires of owners into truth. And who can ever neglect Tom's genius on the subject of giving out useful tips to domestic DIYers, even as lots of us have witnessed his expert existence on the grounds that the IDs, lots of lovers, are in the know. Approximately his private existence, what precisely is Tom, as much as nowadays does he have any greater thrilling initiatives outdoor of the show, properly allows dive in to uncover what virtually happened to Tom Silva. Before we get into it, permits first get to realize who Tom Silva, poor Fabius, permits first get to realize who Tom Silva, CVEY simply as A. Tom Silva, before we get into it, permits first get to realize who Tom Silva simply as A. Virtually is Tom Silva become born on January 17th, 1947 in Lexington, Massachusetts, USA, and from a young age it seemed like he become destined to be a trendy contractor, growing up in a circle of relatives that thuth pink on hands-on work. It became no surprise that Tom got addicted to trades early on. His dad was a builder, and both his mom and grandma had been seamstresses, so he becomes surrounded by means of that type of environment. He recalls trailing in the back of his dad at just 3 or 4 years vintage, hammer in hand, seeking to assist out, and likely breaking some things alongside the manor. Tom cherished spending his summer season breaks renovating houses together with his dad, and being one among 5 boys meant there has been usually some assignment around the house. The whole circle of relatives had an excellent time collectively in Massachusetts, filled with memorable moments constructing things collectively. Little Tommy didn't pull away from getting his fingers dirty after finishing faculty. Tom jumped proper into his father's enterprise back then. He and his brothers have been like tiny creation pros. They lived in an old colonial house built in 1787, and were anyone? In the future, they decided to build a fallout shelter underneath it. May you consider little boys constructing a nuclear-proof basement. They failed to truly know what they were doing. How all through the Cold War, with every person feeling a peace, demanding approximately the entire nuclear risk factor, they figured it changed into really worth a shot, so they rolled up their sleeves and created their very own shelter, thinking it would preserve them secure from radiation if matters ever got messy. Luckily, that never came about. Nonetheless, Tom and his nephew Charles did not simply build a fallout safe haven as a one-off undertaking that ignited a lifelong passion for them. Upon getting their underground hideout up and jogging, they determined to take things to the subsequent level and began the Silva Brothers Construction Company. It felt right for Tom to step into the function of leader on a creation website, especially growing up in a family of tradesmen from smashing stuff along with his dad's hammer as a kid. To getting his start on This Old House, Tom has usually shared his adventure. Tom has always appreciated sticking to traditional methods of doing matters, while he is open to attempting out new gear, and have soon figured out that if you put your head to it long enough, you can get a lot. Silva Brothers custom-style work, substances he sincerely prefers, techniques which have stood the check of time. This love for sturdiness makes his job as a general contractor extremely good, worthwhile, and he clearly enjoys using round. Along with his kids, and declaring the homes he constructed a long time ago as for how he got concerned with. This vintage residence he grew up next to Russ Morris, the man who created the show. His agency, along with his brother Silva Brothers Construction, was first diagnosed once they built the first set for the Victory Lawn. While it first started out, Russ reached out to Tom, however. Tom said he'd become too busy. Russ did not give up, and brought the group to considered one of Tom's task websites to chat, approximately the paintings. That's whilst Tom's hobby in TV sparked. He truly enjoys being a part of the groups from This Old House and Ask This Old House, and loves supporting human beings out by sharing his abilities, strategies, and defibrillation. Russ writes, "Life is an island, so am I. Let me prove it in a lifetime." A recommendation whilst visitors arise to thank him. It truly makes him sense liked in his spare time. He can frequently be located in his workshop making furnishings or out on his boat. From then on, he performed a massive element in developing the show and becoming critical a part of the group besides working with the organization. Tom also writes for This Old DJ Old Residence Mag and different comparable publications. The display in particular focused on outdoor and gardening stuff. It kicked off with James Underwood Crockett because the host, and after he handed away, Bob Thompson, took over. The primary goal was to help visitors with their gardening abilities over time. The show improved to cover things like pruning, planting, pest control, and potting. Plus, Tom and Bob commenced inviting guests to enroll in them, that they had all styles of visitors together with Jamie Dury, Michael Weon, and Roger Swain. The remaining season ran from 2013 to 2015, earlier than Taking a Spoil. In collaboration with Fit for Human Consumption Communities, the display is taken into consideration one of the first gardening programs on TV. Inside the U.S., Silva Brothers Construction ran for 36 seasons from 1975 to 2015. The 42nd season of the display kicked off on October 4th, 2020, and wrapped up on June 6, 2021. By the end of the season, the show had absolutely grown right into a logo, proposing more than one TV packages, an internet site, or even a magazine at some point of its run. It snagged a total of 17 Emmy Awards. One standout episode changed into after they renovated the Weatherby Farm Westwood House. It became a famous maintenance. It changed into additionally the primary time the host didn't see eye to eye on the project's direction. On a distinctive notice, a number of human beings might not realize this, but Tom used to sew. He even made clothes for his daughter when she became an essential faculty. Tom tied the knot with Susan Silva inside the past due 80s, and that they've kept a solid dating going for over 30 years. They've got kids, Kate and TJ, and that they stay on this captivating ancient house from the 1800s in a Boston suburb, even though it's word given quite a few records. Tom offers it a fresh touch with his notable DIY competencies. Tom was the lead carpenter for the display, taking up all those cool maintenance and creation tasks that wowed the target audience. He no longer knew the way to manage his gear like a pro. However, he also had a knack for explaining intricate creation thoughts in a straightforward manner that all people ought to apprehend, DIY lovers anywhere. Recognize the tons of helpful recommendations and insights he shared. Tom, in reality, enjoys being a part of the groups from This Old House and Ask This Old House. It makes him satisfied to help others and percentage his strategies and recommendation every time he can. Whenever a viewer comes up to thank him, he seems like they truly appreciate the paintings he's completed. Tom have become well known for his signature move of taking old rundown houses and turning them into architectural masterpieces. His greatest hits include Carlisle Residence, which turned into an 1820s farmhouse and changed into in determined need of some critical renovations. Nicely, Tom and his team came to the rescue. They conced up the foundation, gave it a glittery new roof, and by some means controlled to restore its ancient appeal. Tommy also transformed an old cramped format of an Arlington Arts and Crafts residence into a spacious electricity green haven. They tackled structural troubles, introduced an extra dormer, and even threw in some eco-friendly features. Lexington Bed and Breakfast turned into one in every of his most memorable tasks. It was a historic mattress and joins the private walkway with a portrait pang to keep the local politicians from luring you out by his loitering tactics. It's quick breakfast in need of a serious facelift. Tom added his AME, meticulously restoring woodwork doorways and windows, and revamping visitor rooms and commonplace regions on This Old House. The team tackles some of the elaborate stuff that other home upkeep suggests typically pass over. In one episode, they run into a piece of a head-scratcher about wherein to place electrical outlets in a sleek modern-day kitchen that has more windows than wall space, seeing that building codes say retailers want to be placed each few toes. OK Connor jumps in and asks, what do you do approximately? Outlets, when there is no wall. The Pinnacle electrician Heath Eastman comes up with a clever workaround with the aid of suggesting they disguise the stores in retractable receptacles that pop up from the countertop. The homeowner, Sunil, isn't pleased about messing up the smooth appearance of the countertop with pop-up outlets. However, he is taking it in stride, pronouncing, I individually wouldn't want anything at the surface, however, such is code and we must have it. This moment truly shows what this antique residence is all about, in place of framing it as a big showdown. They turn it into a gaining knowledge of second between the expert and the property owner. The show genuinely sticks out from others by means of letting pros like Eastman percentage their information with a countrywide target audience. This Old House keeps the crew front and center. Middle, probably, knowing that without them there would not be any motion in any respect. Tom has some strong guidelines for homeowners diving into a complete house upkeep. Start small, step by step. He says that renovations can totally overwhelm every person, and he recommends selecting one little room to focus on, first in getting it completely done, contend with the whole thing in that area, renovation, painting, completing touches, and furnishing. Once you've got wrapped it up, placed a bottle of wine on a table in the corner, close the door and step back for a second. Every time you begin feeling burdened about the bigger renovation tasks, simply pop into that room and enjoy it as a reminder of why you began. He says a number of oldsters attempt to address the whole house right away and end up feeling frantic or worse, never even end. He also delivered up a good point, approximately how anybody desires, the nice of the entirety. However, often their price range simply won't permit it. It is important now not to cut corners on matters that do not normally get observed, like windows, insulation, heating and cooling systems, the foundation, framing, and siding. Those parts assist you live in your private home longer and shop money in the long run. Whilst speaking about how current houses are constructed, Tom stated that regardless of all of the tech improvements, older timber became actually more difficult nowadays. They use more youthful trees for lumber, which absorb moisture quicker, so the trim doesn't preserve up as nicely. He also highlighted a few manufactured trims from brands like Boral or Ozak, which can be higher grade, but even the fine substances won't closing without the proper prep work, like he stated. Even the fanciest paint won't ultimate if it is now not applied nicely. You've likely noticed that the highlight in home improvement suggests commonly shines extra on the hosts than at the skilled trades individuals who absolutely do the heavy lifting. When these people do make an appearance, it's usually just for a quick clip and they regularly become zooming around like little squirrels whilst hammering, lifting, and plastering, and portray their hard work frequently seems like an aspect observed to the pleasure of the principal hosts. As an instance, you might think that the show Windy City Rehab is all approximately home renovations in Chicago. It certainly revolves around Allison Victoria, the show's famous person. You have in all likelihood seen her posing with a sledgehammer within the promos. She's a season at flipping homes, and her behave gags has a pretty distinct style. Victoria really has a bonus in what's typically a man's game. The construction people barely make an appearance. 4. The duration of the standard protection montages this fashion isn't just occurring on Victoria's show, it is a broader difficulty in domestic protection TV. The shortage of professional trades humans shown on these applications might be scaring off young humans from pursuing careers in the one's fields. America is truly facing a critical shortage of professional exertions, and that is due to a gaggle of motives like the lengthy time period outcomes of the Great Recession, a group of skilled employees retiring, plenty of excessive faculty grads displaying little interest in blue-collar jobs consistent with the Washington Post. Even as it's a complex difficulty, it is really worth considering how trades are portrayed in the media would possibly play a role. Who could want to be sidelined while someone else takes the spotlight on the turn facet? This old house does a terrific job of highlighting 1146, its people inclusive of younger apprentices. This leads us to how Tom Silva became successful due to the rise of the show. So let's speak about his achievement. Seeing that part of Tom's paychecks come from his shows, it is no surprise that humans are curious about his price range. It's really worth citing that he doesn't simply earn from the display, he additionally brings in cash through various other projects wherein he makes use of his skills. Lovers may be happy to know that Tom continues to be active as a standard contractor on the display. He joined in 1986 and has been a key discern ever for the reason that team has changed a piece through the years, but it still maintains its authentic V-Bob. V become the first host and then a ton of fun tasks over time. He's turned burls into bowls, transformed a wood beam right into a cookie jar for a house owner, made a toddler rattle, crafted a baseball bat, designed fancy desk legs, or even created Christmas adornments. Plus, he prepared an engagement ring in a special field to provide it in. Now, at nearly 80 years vintage, human beings are starting to wonder if it is time for someone new to take over, no matter what he decides. Tom has definitely made a memorable effect on heaps of fans everywhere in the global. His pointers and advice are constantly heartfelt, and he has an unexplainable appeal while he's on screen.